Time you actually listening to this episode, I feel like you would have clued in. Maybe you've seen it on the podcast cover at the top of whatever podcast streaming app you're using, or maybe you saw something on YouTube if that's where you're tuning in. But ta-da! We have officially rebranded the podcast from Hold Them Vibe to the Speaker Movement. I wanted to take a moment to share a little bit about the history of the podcast, but also history of the brand overall and what led to this moment, as well as what you can expect from the podcast, from the platform overall, as far as the brand is concerned going forward. Honestly, this was a really hard decision to make, and I had been almost subconsciously mulling it over for the entire year of 2025. And it was just this nudge that I was feeling inside that kept telling me, Hold Them Vibe is no longer aligned. The problem is that it's a concept, Hold Them Vibe. It's about feeling like your business and your life is a whole damn vibe. Like it's epic. It's everything you've ever wanted it to be, from your offers, the people you work with, the types of speaking opportunities that you are now booking, as well as the way that you spend your life because of all these cool and very sustainable visibility and marketing strategies. So it's always been something that's so deeply aligned with my values and something that felt really fun and, pun intended, vibey. So letting go of that name, letting go of that brand and that part of, for lack of a better word, part of my identity as a business owner, it felt wrong to a certain extent. But I feel like the business has evolved so much in the last couple of years. And separate from the Hold Them Vibe movement and the Hold Them Vibe brand, I've been starting to build a secondary brand, which is the speaker movement. So having two brands was starting to feel a little bit disjointed, a little bit fragmented. And this is actually something that I was feeling across the board, especially as a newer mama. I use the term new loosely because at this point my son is a 2-year-old toddler, so he's not so new anymore. But it's still new enough that I am spending so much intentional time with him. He's not in daycare, he's not in preschool. Like, we're going to be having him at home for the first 4 years until school officially starts. And being able to spend all that time intentionally with him, having a side, not business, but passion for teaching Latin dance as well, having all these different passions and priorities that pull me in different directions makes it so that the time that I spend intentionally within the business, the time that I spend with my clients, it's not that it's minimal, but it has to be well thought out, right? I gotta be intentional. I gotta maximize the energy, the focus that I'm putting in. So to have different parts of my brand, whether it is podcasts, whether it's my community, my programs, feeling fragmented wasn't really serving me from like a capacity and how am I going to make this all happen, but it's also not serving my community the way that I really want to be serving them going forward, because there's a lot of plans, a lot of ideas, a lot of things that I kept wanting to do in terms of enhancing the community experience from like a free standpoint, but also enhancing the experience for my paying clients as well. And I kept the status quo, which was great, but I'm like, status quo doesn't feel like it's good enough for me, right? It's not good enough for me. It's not good enough for my clients. I want more. I want an even better experience for all of us. And that vision was pulling at me, but I was not able to. I don't have the capacity to bring it into real life up until now. I say up until now because approximately a week ago, I finally had what some people call like a download or an epiphany. It's that realization of how this nudge, this feeling that I've been having inside for the past year can finally come to life. Like, what would that actually look like without it feeling like I'm forcing a rebrand, or without it feeling like things are still feeling a little bit disjointed. Like, it's not quite exactly the way that I would envision it. So let's not force it. Finally, the idea came around for, at least the podcast, for the rebrand into the speaker movement. And I had all these other cool ideas on how I can better serve my free community, which is also branded under the speaker movement umbrella, how I can better service my clients, and all the programs. I'm not going to go too in depth into it now, but all the programs that I have right now are either going to go away completely, they're going to be revamped / restructured in ways to better align the brand, or I'm coming up with new things altogether. So it's a mix of Frankensteining things so that I can keep the best parts of the brand, the best parts of my offer, so I can serve my clients the way that I want to, and then start to add on top of that in ways that actually feel manageable, that feel sustainable long term. So I'm not looking just as, hey, can we manage this for the next 3 months? I'm looking at, can we manage this for the next year, for the next 3 years, maybe even 5? We'll see what the future holds. But this is something that is now feeling really freaking good. So finally, the speaker movement. Where did that come from? How did we get here? I've shared a little bit about this previously, specifically to my email list, and a little bit here on the podcast. But in essence, the speaker movement, it has evolved in itself, and it's something that had been slowly brewing under the scenes or behind the scenes for roughly 6 years. I would say about a year into my entrepreneurship journey, which we're now 7 years plus into, I started to build this unconsciously. And it really stemmed from a desire to find or build, create a community where I was surrounded by folks who shared similar lived experiences, folks who made me feel like I was at home, folks who made me feel like I belonged. And finding that community became really hard. I wasn't seeing any entrepreneurs that shared a similar lived experience in me. A lot of the folks that I'm now connected with, that I'm either part of their community or who are part of mine, tend to say things along the lines of, I never see people that look like me. So now, with the privilege of being clearly white, I'm a white Latina, I did see a lot of people that look like me. But that's what almost made it more complicated to connect, because you see people that look like you. So you're like, yes, we got all the things in common. This is amazing. We're going to get along so well. And we did get along. I made so many incredible friendships that I still have to this day. And I wouldn't trade those for anything in the world. But there was still that missing piece, and it's the lived experience. As a Latina who was born and raised in Argentina, there are certain things that you just don't witness or see other people. Like, you don't see that reflected back in other people's experiences now living in North America. And I just didn't see any entrepreneurs who shared that lived experience, whether it's the Latinx heritage, whether it's the queer experience, right? There's so many different parts of my identity that were yearning for connection, for a feeling of belonging. And because I didn't find it, because I wasn't really seeing more than 1 or 2 other Latinas in the online space, I think at the time I wasn't seeing any queer business owners at all. I'm like, okay, what if I create this, right? And I did, except it didn't really work out. I think if I were to look back, it kind of did work out. It just wasn't what I was hoping for it to be. And it's because I didn't know how to lead it yet, right? It's like, we've done things a little bit differently. Because I started this community, I think we had approximately, give or take, 30 people. We were all Latinas in the same industry, and it had a lot of, in theory, potential. But when it came down to it, I didn't know how to lead it. So it was absolute crickets. We never met up. We barely even talked. And the community was just an empty space collecting dust. So I ended up shutting it down. I didn't even announce that I was shutting it down. I just went, okay, leave / delete the group. Cool. We're going to pretend that didn't even happen. So I spent the next year or so just, again, feeling the same way, yearning for that sense of belonging. And eventually I had another idea. And this idea had a little bit more of a strategy, a little bit more of a plan behind it. And what I wanted to do was, okay, maybe I'm not going to build a physical community where we're meet up inside of like a Facebook community or Slack or whatever that might be, but I can still create a sense of community by highlighting and giving more visibility to folks like me. So I'm like, let's go ahead and do a pop-up directory for Latinx business owners, Latinx leaders. So I did that. And the first year we did that specifically for Hispanic Heritage Month, we had about 35 folks featured, and it felt so good. I'm like, all right, we've got 35 of us. This is amazing. Let's share each other's business. Let's highlight you. Let's share a little bit of your story. It wasn't this very intensely orchestrated collaboration, but it was still really freaking cool. And for 30 days, I guess 35 days, I got to celebrate and highlight other entrepreneurs in their own journey. And that was really what kickstarted the speaker movement the way that it looks now, because we did it for another year, specifically with a speaker directory focus. So now it's about not just highlighting your business and your leadership, but specifically highlighting your brand as a public speaker. And then we did it again. And it grew from like 35 to 25 speakers to all of a sudden over 250 people being interested in wanting to be a part of this pop-up project. And that was the most mind-blowing thing. I was only able to feature about 55 folks, that we had to decline a couple of those submissions, of course. But the fact that there were so many people that wanted to be part of a project like this, it really solidified the drive in me to continue to build whatever this was. So then the fourth year that I ran the pop-up speaker directory, this time it formed part of the speaker movement, right? I built more of a community. I started hosting weekly events for everybody who was either being featured for Hispanic Heritage Month or anybody who's part of the community overall and wanted to either as a member of the community or as an ally participate and help celebrate our cultura, help amplify our voices and so forth. So we hosted weekly public speaking events where I got to teach a little bit about different aspects of public speaking, thought leadership, and so on. We got to mastermind, we got to practice our public speaking, give each other feedback, and we got to also recommend and refer each other for public speaking opportunities, even invite each other into our respective podcasts. And it was so beautiful to see that. I remember there was one member of the community in particular who attended and they got to practice their keynote. It's going to be their first keynote. And just the ability to be able to share that. And there was no expectation for it to be perfect. That's actually one of the things that I told everybody. I'm like, let's do this imperfectly. Like, let's mess up. Let's actually give ourselves an opportunity to, one, not put too much pressure on it. But two, to identify where are the areas for growth or where are the areas for acceptance, for how our delivery is, for how our story comes off imperfectly. And to create that space with no judgment, there's no need to be somebody else or embody somebody else's way of public speaking. Just be you in the moment. Let's just have fun with it. It was really cool to be able to facilitate that kind of experience, but also to witness folks as they stepped up and they shared their stories, practiced their keynotes, and so on. And this specific person went on to, at that session, connect with one of the other members. And turns out they ended up meeting up after the fact. And I don't know exactly what happened, but they were giving each other advice as the speaker was preparing for the actual keynote that they went ahead and did beautifully. So to be just a tiny part of a person's experience as they get to build their confidence, build their brand, and practice public speaking in order to do the thing, to be able to share their story and their message and their experience with other people is so freaking cool. And that is essentially what the speaker movement became. It is a community, an ecosystem of leaders, public speakers, creatives, business owners who come together, who get to learn from each other, who get to amplify each other's brands and voices. And it's all rooted in the fact that we get to come together as equals. There's no hierarchy. And one of the ultimate goals is to amplify specifically the voices of underrepresented folks, the folks who we want to see in positions of power, right? The folks who we want to hear more of their stories, because more people around the world, folks of the global majority, they need to see those people on stages. They need to see those people on movies. They need to see those people in positions of power, businesses, government, etc. To see the people, to hear their stories, to know that they're not alone, to know that it is possible for them to go after whatever it is that their desires are. And it's just such a mix of empowering oneself to go after your dreams and whatever it is that you want to bring into reality for your own self, business, and life, but also to then inspire and motivate other people to go ahead and do the exact same thing their way. And one of the cool things is that's been the main thread, especially when it comes to collaborative efforts and community efforts. When it comes specifically to my content, when it comes specifically to the brand speaker movement as far as coaching is concerned, a beautiful thing that has stemmed from this entire brand is the concept that as you start to take up more space, as you start to build that confidence and tap into who you truly are at the core, beyond societal conditioning, beyond any conditioning or comparison that you might experience in the online space or even in real life, is you start to uncover who you are at the core. You start to uncover how you want to be, how you want to show up, how you want to act, what you want to do. You start to uncover what you want to stand for, what you don't stand for. And you start to uncover what you truly desire beyond all that conditioning, right? So now, all your decisions, whether they're decisions around what you want to talk about, decisions about the kind of public speaking gigs you want to book, decisions around the kind of offers that you want to put out there, the kind of people you want to work with, how you want to market, right? Or the decisions that you want to make in life, whether it's how you want to spend your free time, how you want to make the most of the time that we have on earth, how you want to date or not date, build a family, not build a family, like all those decisions, despite of anything that society, family, friends, and the education system, despite what anybody may have instilled in you. It's like, let's start to finally uncover our truth. Let's start to uncover your voice and start to use it confidently. So you can make those decisions that feel like a whole damn vibe. And I feel like that going forward is going to be such a strong core, such a strong part of the speaker movement brand, such a strong part of the podcast. And it's a lot of what you can expect to experience through the podcast, through the episodes coming forth in the next couple of weeks, in the next couple of months and year. It's a lot of content around that. It's about your thought leadership, your confidence, your identity, sense of belonging. It's about tapping into your voice and your beliefs and your desires and showing up in that way through your business, through your brand, but also showing up in that way in life. And I think that's such a beautiful way that it all comes full circle. And it all started from a sense of feeling like there's nowhere that I quite belong, and feeling that there's nobody out there in the entrepreneurship space who is either Latina, queer, or quirky, weird, loves to dance bachata, whatever other little bits of identities that I hold within this brain and this body. And it all started with a sense of that, of not feeling like I belong. And the beautiful thing is that now I've built a community filled with clients, peers, friends, mentors, all the things, collaborators. And I feel like I do belong. And it's really freaking beautiful. And we get to meet up every Tuesday. At least that's when the fiestas are happening currently. We meet up every Tuesday, we co-work, we network, we talk about exactly these things, about belonging, diversity, identity, all the things, and we share the cool projects that we're working on, and the conversations are nuanced and beautiful, and sometimes a little bit like, oh, that was a little bit painful. But we get to share that, right, vulnerably, in a space where we all share some fragment of that lived experience in some way, shape, or form. And at a minimum, we hold space for it. And I think I couldn't have asked for anything more. I started with a small community of 30 people that I shut down because I was embarrassed. And now we're here. With that, thank you so much for listening to today's episode, for hearing the story around the whole damn vibe, the shift into the speaker movement, and what's to come for the brand as a whole, not just the podcast, but the programs, the free community. I do have a free experience happening January 12th, 2026. So if you're listening to this before that date, go check out the show notes. There is a link to the waitlist. You can get access to the 10-day free experience where we're going to uncover your thought leadership and then pitch using that message, right? So you can book even more speaking gigs and basically book out your first speaking tour for the year. And that will also give you access to lots of public speaking sneak peeks behind the scenes while you wait for the live experience to come. And you get to lock in bonuses for the new program coming through on 2026. So with that, speaker era waitlist, I'll see you inside, and I will see you inside the next episode of the Speaker Movement podcast.